If you're rolling out Claude Team Plan and you're the one signing off on the security review, this is for you. I'm going to walk you through the 7 risks I see in nearly every Claude Team Plan deployment, the admin settings that close them, and the 3 controls that force you off team and onto enterprise. By the end of this, you'll know what to configure today, what to escalate, and where Anthropic's team tier actually stops being a defensible posture. Let's get into it. I'm Fabio Cerullo, Managing Director at Cycubix, nearly 2 decades in cybersecurity, and I teach for ISC2. On the generative AI side, I contribute to the OWASP AI Exchange and the OWASP Top 10 for LLM Applications project, and I built the Secure Coding for LLM Applications course that teams use to train their developers. The Claude Team Plan configuration I'm walking through is the same review we run for clients deploying generative AI in their environments. Let's move into the agenda. Here's how this is structured. 7 sections, each one a real risk in your Claude Team Plan tenant. Identity and access, data and privacy, agentic capabilities, workspace artifacts, connectors and MCP, audit and observability, and finally, mapping those controls back to NIST AI RMF, ISO 42001, and the EU AI Act. 7 risks, 7 fixes, and 1 configuration setting that reduces your exposure more than any other. I'll flag that one when we get there. Before we get to the risks, you need a mental model. Claude Team Plan isn't one product, it's 3 surfaces, each with its own threat model. First, the chat surface, users talking to Claude in the web app. Second, the agentic surface, Cowork and Claude in Chrome, where Claude takes actions on behalf of the user. Third, the connector surface, MCP, Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, anywhere Claude reaches into your data. Every risk in this video maps to one of these 3 surfaces. If you don't separate them, your controls won't either. Tier choice. Team Plan is a starting point, not a destination. 3 controls force the upgrade to Enterprise. SIEM for automated provisioning, Audit Logs for admin event history, and the Compliance API for streaming content into your SOC. Per group permissions, custom data retention windows, and HIPAA BAA add to that list. The pattern across this deck: most risk closes for free with configuration on Team Plan, but for SOC-grade audit, scoped admin delegation, or healthcare data, Enterprise is the budget conversation you'll need to have. Decide which side of that line you're on before you scale Claude across the business. Risk 1. Identity and access. This is where most Claude Team Plan deployments are quietly broken. Without SSO enforced, anyone with a corporate email can spin up a shadow Claude workspace outside your controls. And since October 2025, Anthropic trains on consumer chats by default, with retention up to 5 years. So your engineers pasting code into their personal Claude account, that's now training data. Let's walk through the fix. The fix is the most straightforward in the video, and the most important. Verify your domain in Claude. Enforce SSO before you invite a single user. On Team Plan, that gives you just-in-time provisioning. Users provision at first login through Okta, Azure AD, or Google Workspace. Set the default role to member, require admin approval for new joiners, and you've just closed the single biggest exposure path. This is the configuration setting I flagged on the agenda. SSO enforcement does more for your posture than any other admin control in Claude. Once SSO is on, the role model matters. Claude Team Plan has primary owner, admin, and member. Limit how many owners you create. 2 is usually enough. 1 for billing and 1 for connector enablement. And critically, make the primary owner a service account, not a person. Pick an IT mailbox like AI admin at your domain. People leave, get reorged, go on parental leave. Your AI tenant shouldn't depend on any one of them having Claude on their phone. Custom roles only exist on Enterprise. On Team Plan, you work with the 4 built-ins. Quick side-by-side on identity capabilities. Team Plan gives you SSO and just-in-time provisioning, which closes the shadow account risk for most orgs. What it doesn't give you is SCIM, meaning when someone leaves your company, you remove their SSO access, but their Claude seat remains until an admin manually deactivates them. No automatic deprovisioning, no lifecycle. That's the first of the 3 enterprise-only controls I mentioned earlier. If your offboarding policy requires same-day removal across all SaaS, you need SCIM, and SCIM is enterprise. 4 ways your team gets locked out. 1. The primary owner who set this up leaves, and the role doesn't transfer automatically. 2. Billing fails, and the workspace freezes mid-incident. 3. Your SSO provider has an outage, and there's no break glass account. 4. The SCIM bridge breaks, and provisioning silently stops. I've watched a customer go 3 days without Claude access because their primary owner left and no successor was nominated, and Anthropic support cannot reset that for you. So name a backup primary owner today, keep one MFA-protected non-SSO break glass account, and put the Anthropic security contact in your incident response runbook before you need it. Identity is the one section where the failure mode is operational, not adversarial. Risk 2. Data and privacy. This is the one your DPO will ask about first. Your Team Plan workspace runs on Anthropic's commercial terms, no training, no data sale. But your employees' personal Pro and Max accounts run on consumer terms, where training is on by default with 5-year retention. Same person, same prompts, completely different contract. If you don't close that gap, your DPA is doing nothing. The fix is a feature most admins do not use. Domain capture sweeps every Pro and free Claude account on your verified domain into the managed workspace. That matters because free and Pro tiers have no data processing agreement. They are GDPR non-compliant for business data. The DPA is automatically incorporated into Anthropic's commercial terms when you provision a Team Plan workspace, so capturing the shadow accounts is what extends DPA coverage to the people already using Claude with company data. 3 admin settings to actually click. First, domains. Verify your DNS and enable domain capture under org settings. Second, data retention. On Team Plan, deleted chats are purged within 30 days, and primary owners can run data exports for legal hold or evidence. But custom retention windows and zero data retention are enterprise only. That's the second of the 3 controls that drive the upgrade. Third, project visibility. Default new projects to private, and put a calendar reminder to review public projects quarterly. Review the bundled DPA and SCCs at procurement, and log the version in your vendor register. Commercial terms incorporate them automatically, so workspace provisioning is your Article 28 trigger. Section 3 is the agentic surface, and the risk profile here is different from chat. Cowork is Anthropic's agentic system. It runs on your desktop with access to local files and folders, and completes multi-step tasks on its own. Claude for Chrome is a browser extension that clicks, types, and fills forms on your behalf via Chrome's automation APIs. Both are available to Team Plan. 2 facts that should change how you think about this. Anthropic's own published prompt injection attack success rate against Claude for Chrome is 11.2%, with defenses on, roughly 1 in 9. And Cloudbleed, disclosed by Layer X in May 2026, showed a zero permission extension could exfiltrate a Google Drive file via the side panel init flow. Here's the kicker for your SOC. Anthropic states on the Cowork product page that Cowork activity is not yet captured in audit logs or the compliance API. Read that again. An agent is reading, editing, and creating files on user desktops, and the events do not show up in the logs your incident response team will subpoena. The investigator's 3 questions, who, what, when, get one-word answers on Cowork. Unknown. For Claude for Chrome, the 11.2% prompt injection rate is bad enough, but Cloudbleed showed a malicious browser extension could pivot Claude's privileged mode and exfiltrate drive content. Your DLP does not see this. That is the off-the-record traffic risk. 3 toggles, all under admin settings capabilities. First, Cowork. Disable it on day 1. Pilot with a small, non-sensitive group. Add boundary DLP, then expand carefully. Second, Claude in Chrome. Disable entirely, or configure a strict site allow list. Start with 5 domains and add more on real demand, not anticipated demand. Third, code execution. Keep the 2-gate model. Admin enables the feature, user opts in per project. And leave network egress restricted until you have a written use case that justifies opening it. These 3 toggles take 10 minutes, and they buy you defensible posture on the agentic surface. Risk 4. Workspace artifacts. 3 features ship on by default that most CISOs don't realize are collaboration surfaces: projects, skills, and artifacts. Projects bundle a shared knowledge base. Drop a contract in, everyone with access reads it. Skills are reusable instruction packages that can ship executable code. Artifacts render live HTML and React in the chat panel. Each one is useful. Each one is also a place where regulated data leaves your line of sight if you don't configure them. 3 concrete failures. First, public projects on Team Plan are discoverable to anyone in the workspace, so the merger deal room your CFO shared with 3 people is one search away from the whole company. Second, skills are excluded from the OpenTelemetry feed. If a user installs a malicious skill, you cannot see it in your SIEM. Third, Oasis Security's Cloudy Day proof of concept. An attacker plants a poisoned artifact in a shared project. When a teammate opens it, Claude renders embedded markdown that exfiltrates data via image URLs to an attacker-controlled domain. No download, no click, no warning. Default on collaboration is also default on egress. 3 controls, 1 per surface. Projects. Private by default. Disable org-wide public sharing until you have a written pre-share content review, and audit the public tab quarterly. Skills. Treat user-created skills like browser extensions. Code review before any org-wide share, and flip on skill name capture in OpenTelemetry so you actually see what's running. It's off by default. Artifacts. Treat shared chat links as data egress events in your DLP. Keep code execution network egress restricted from the previous section, and train your users that pasted content can hide model instructions. Prompt injection is a content trust problem, not just a model problem. Risk 5. Connectors and MCP. This is the one that should be your change management board's headline. Connectors on Claude Team Plan are all or nothing. There is no per user or per group gating. That's enterprise only. The moment an owner enables the Google Drive connector, every member of the workspace can link their own drive and pull data through Claude. The Microsoft 365 connector goes further. It requires a tenant-wide consent from your intra-global admin. One click authorizes Claude across your entire Microsoft 365 estate. Reframe what a connector is. Most teams treat enabling a connector as a checkbox in a settings page. Same effort as turning on dark mode. It's not. It's a tenant-level change. When your intra-global admin grants Claude access to Microsoft 365, you've extended the trust boundary of every SharePoint site, every OneDrive, every Exchange mailbox. If that doesn't go through your change management board today, your process has a gap. The other connectors are workspace-wide rather than tenant-wide, but the lack of per-group gating means the blast radius is still everyone with a Claude seat. 5 controls to make the connector surface defensible. 1. Default every connector to read-only. Review scopes before adding, and downgrade write access wherever you can. 2. Restrict who can add to the catalog. Only primary owner or owner, never members. 3. For Microsoft 365 specifically, route the intra-global admin tenant-wide consent through your standard change board. Same review you'd do for any other M365 app. 4. For custom MCP servers, maintain an internal allow list and pin versions. Treat unverified external endpoints as out of scope. 5. Audit enabled connectors, scopes, and tenant consents quarterly. Disable anything unused. The connector you forgot is the connector that breaches you. Section 6. Audit and Observability. This is where most Claude Team Plan deployments fail in audit, because the logging surface is narrower than admins assume. Audit logs capture access events and admin changes, not prompt content. Cowork activity, agentic browsing, code execution, file actions is excluded from audit logs, the compliance API, and data exports entirely. When an investigator asks what Claude saw and what it did, a default team plan setup cannot answer. 3 logging surfaces and a hole in the middle. Audit logs cover admin and access events. Data exports give the primary owner chat content and member data. OpenTelemetry streams Cowork, but Cowork is also absent from the other 2 feeds, which means agentic activity only shows up if you wire OTel into your SIEM. The compliance API, The only streaming content feed is enterprise only. When a breach investigator asks, what did Claude see? What did it touch? And which user issued the prompt at 14:32 on Tuesday? A team plan setup can answer the user question, and maybe the file question, but not the content question. That gap is what auditors and forensics teams hit first. It's the third enterprise trigger control after SIEM and custom retention. 4 moves. 1. Schedule primary owner data exports and stream open telemetry into your SIEM so Cowork stops being a blind spot. 2. Treat Claude as third-party SaaS in your DLP or CASB stack. That captures prompt and response content at your egress regardless of what Anthropic logs. 3. Run a quarterly review of admins, owners, connectors, and capability toggles, because settings drift. 4. Document the Cowork gap in your incident response runbook so responders know where not to look. If your SOC needs streaming content or the compliance API, that is your enterprise trigger. Here is the Cycubix Claude hardening checklist on one page. Items 1, 2, 3, and 6 are free with the team plan and remove the largest share of risk: domain capture, SSO, role discipline, capability toggles. Items 5 and 7 need an internal policy decision: data retention windows and connector enablement. Item 8 is the most common enterprise trigger, because without the compliance API, your SOC has no streaming feed and Cowork activity stays invisible. Section 7. Framework mapping. 6 configuration changes are only useful if they answer the question your auditors are about to ask. How does this map to our framework obligations? ISO/IEC 42001, NIST AI RMF, and the EU AI Act all expect the same control domains: identity, data, capability, transparency, audit. The next screen is the crosswalk, so your evidence travels across frameworks instead of being rebuilt for each one. This is the slide you take to your AI Governance Steering Committee. The 6 control domains map cleanly onto the 3 frameworks every regulated enterprise tracks: ISO/IEC 42001 for the AI management system, the NIST AI risk management framework with the generative AI profile for risk practice, and the EU AI Act for the law that now applies. The point isn't to argue which framework is best. It's that the same admin settings give you audit evidence under all 3. ISO 42001 references map to clauses 8.2 through 8.10 and clause 10 for improvement. NIST aligns to govern, map, measure, and manage functions. EU AI Act anchors to Articles 10, 12, 14, 15, 25, and 26. 1 control set, 3 audit responses. 5 questions for your Claude vendor file. 1. Training. Get written confirmation that prompts, files, and project knowledge on team and enterprise are not used to train models. 2. Residency and subprocessors. AWS US is the default, EU on enterprise contracts. Ask for the subprocessor list and change notification SLA. 3. Incident response. Security contact, breach SLA, disclosure program. 4. Certifications. SOC 2 Type 2 and ISO 27001 under NDA. DPA plus SCCs for EU and UK, BAA on enterprise. 5. Deployment. If you need single CSP, evaluate Bedrock, Vertex, or Foundry, and inherit your cloud provider's posture instead. Let's bring this home. 7 fixes you can ship next. Each one is a defaults problem, and each one has a setting you can flip from the admin console. Number 1. Identity. Enforce SSO with just-in-time provisioning. Verify your DNS domain and enable domain capture. That single move sweeps every Shadow Pro and free Claude account on your domain into the managed workspace, where the DPA actually applies. Keep new member approvals one by one for now. Number 2. Data. Use primary owner data exports when legal needs evidence. Default new projects to private. And log the bundled DPA and standard contractual clauses at procurement in your vendor register. That's your Article 28 trigger, not a separate signature. Number 3. Capabilities. Review Cowork. Review Claude for Chrome. Both are agentic surfaces, and the audit picture is still incomplete. Cowork activity, by Anthropic's own statement, is not yet captured in audit logs or the compliance API. And keep code execution behind 2 gates. Admin enables the feature, project owner opts in per project. Number 4. Workspace artifacts. Disable public projects. Review skills the way you review browser extensions, name and version. And treat artifacts as outbound code, with the same review you give any script leaving the org. Number 5. Connectors. Restrict catalog enablement to owners only. Push Microsoft 365 consent through your change board using Microsoft Entra. And keep custom model context protocol servers on an explicit allow list with version pinning. Number 6. Audit. Stream data exports and open telemetry traces for Cowork into your SIEM today. And remember the 4 enterprise-only controls that drive the upgrade conversation: Audit Logs, the Compliance API, SIEM provisioning, and custom data retention. Number 7. Framework mapping. Tie every control back to NIST AI RMF, ISO/IEC 42001, and the EU AI Act. 1 control set, 3 audit responses. Your evidence travels. That's the playbook. Defaults to defensible in 1 afternoon.
One last thing. If you're rolling out Claude Team Plan, or you've already rolled it out and want an outside check, that's what we do at Cycubix. 2-week assessment, fixed scope. We run the 7 risk admin settings review end-to-end, do the ISO 42001, NIST AI RMF, and EU AI Act gap analysis, review your MCP connectors and any custom servers, and deliver an executive report with a remediation roadmap your steering committee can sign off. Book a call at Cycubix.com. That's the playbook. 7 risks, 7 fixes, and 3 controls: SCIM, custom retention, and the Compliance API that tell you when Team Plan stops being enough. Most of what we covered is free configuration you can ship this afternoon. The rest is a budget conversation, but at least now you can have it with numbers. If this was useful, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We publish AI, cybersecurity, and data protection guidance regularly. Thanks for watching, and good luck with the rollout.